And we're live. Hello and welcome to Sunday School Carnivore. Again, we're missing one of our wonderful key players. Stephanie is on vacation. She's out. And so I'm running the show in her behalf. If I comment in the chat, it'll say Stephanie because I'm signed in as her. But I'm still John. I'm the Carnivore Teacher. We'll go around and introduce ourselves. I'm Carnivore Teacher on YouTube and other social media sites. I put out a lesson daily. I do live interviews. I'm on this Sunday School Carnivore and other people's posts, and I talk about the carnivore way of eating being really the human diet that's proper for us, for our nutrition, because it's the species specific way. And it has really healed me from the inside out. And so we have special guests on every Sunday to tell us how a carnivore diet has changed and changed their lives and healed them from the inside out. And we have today with us Erin Fallon, and she is from New Hampshire. Is that correct?
Yep.
And she's going to share a little bit about herself, and then we'll go to George to introduce himself, and then we'll go back to Erin to tell us a little bit about her story. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Erin.
So I live in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. I'm married. I have 3 adult children. 2 of them are married and 4 grandchildren. My husband and I have been carnivore since November 1st, 2022. So we're coming on our 3-year mark. And I did it as a 30-day challenge. And I am still healing. It just keeps amazing me, the changes and improvements we keep seeing. And our friends and family keep noticing too. So.
That's great. George? Tell us.
Yeah, okay.
About
So, here I am. Oh, crikey, yes, here, just been called up. Right, so here I am, the deputy head of Sunday School Carnivore. Thank you, headmaster, for handing over to me. I am the deputy head, so I'm 6 weeks younger than the headmaster because we both recently turned 60. I live in Bridgewater in the county of Somerset in the country of England, and we're part of the UK. So, yeah, I've been carnivore myself now for 2 years this month. But prior to that, I was hyper carnivore for 18 months as I did the transition. Mine is a typical story of type 2 diabetes and morbid obesity, which I was told would be with me for life and would have to be managed by metformin. I threw away the prescriptions and went and cured myself with low carb, high fat, and then carnivore. So that's a typical story. Right, I have to point out the fact that, yeah, John has actually said that the school secretary, Miss Stephanie Taylor, has decided to take a term time vacation, which is definitely disapproved of, especially this side of the pond, because if, as I was explaining to the headmaster, if parents take their children out during term time over here, they get a fine from the government. Because as we all know, the cost of foreign holidays go up during the official holiday time. So a lot of parents will actually take their kids out during the school so they can make use of the cheaper holidays. It's term time now, and the school secretary is actually flying home from the Mediterranean tonight. I mean, if that is basically that is a lack of commitment, isn't it? So I actually told her this morning she can expect a detention when she gets back to school. And if anybody's actually out there follows the young lady on Facebook, you will see that she's been totally misbehaving over there. She and her 3 friends have been posting a daily song and a dance on one of the platforms. And basically, her voice is that bad that I would actually argue it's bringing the school into disrepute. So yeah, she can actually expect an interview without coffee, as we might say, with the headmaster when she returns. But she will be back next week, and the lovely Steph will be back with us, which is a great relief as far as I'm concerned. So that's my update. Nothing more to tell you really. So I'm going to hand you back to John, who will almost certainly hand you back to Erin.
All right. Thank you, George. I could never talk the way you do with all the embellishments and the fun little nicknames you give people, which I love. I wish I could do that, but I have to be me. You have to be you. So our guest today is Erin Fallon, and she, as she told you in her brief introduction, she feels so much better on carnivore. So before we get started, those of you who are watching, if you have a question for Erin anytime during the show or one of us, type a QQQ in the comments and then type your question, and we will highlight the question on the screen and we'll answer that. And hopefully we can get an answer to you that might be helpful. So Erin, I'm going to hand it over to you. Tell us your story. Tell us, you started this as a 30-day challenge and you never stopped.
That's correct. I do not plan on stopping.
Good.
So the healing keeps happening and I don't know when it will stop. And I love the excitement of the journey. So I want to keep it up. To give you some background, my health history is extremely complex. And it's worth sharing because a lot of people with complex histories really don't think they can get better. It's not as simple as a metabolic deficiency. I have genetic disorders that I do have to continue to take medicine while I'm carnivore because I have to replace things my body doesn't make. I have common variable immune deficiency, which means I don't produce enough IgG1, which is the main immunoglobulin that allows you to fight bacteria and viral infections. So once a week, I infuse subcutaneous immunoglobulin into my body. In fact, that's this afternoon's activity after I get done visiting with you guys. I also am hypothyroid. I have congenital adrenal hyperplasia, so my adrenals are atrophied. My thyroid is atrophied. And I have diabetes insipidus, which is a fluid balance disorder of the pituitary gland. Additionally, I have congenital myasthenia gravis, which is a muscle firing disorder where the body doesn't make either enough acetylcholine or doesn't have enough acetylcholine receptors. So when I overdo, my limbs get heavy and kind of floppy, and I just have to stop everything and rest. So with all that, I'm still carnivore. So I told you for the immune deficiency, I infuse immunoglobulin. I take thyroid meds, natural desiccant armor. I also replace my adrenal hormones with kind of a novel method that's considered experimental in the United States. I use an insulin pump to imitate the circadian and ultradian rhythms of normal adrenal glands and get subcutaneous cortisol. So one of my big things with carnivore, and especially with carnivore and fasting, was figuring out what I can and cannot do physiologically because I'm not the same as everybody else. But to that end, let's get back to why I started carnivore. I had repeat tendon injuries, along with it's very common for people with adrenal insufficiency to have Ehlers-Danlos connective tissue disease. And I also have that. So I kept getting these tendon injuries. And I'd go to the local orthopedic practice, and they really had nothing to offer. Possible steroid injections, pain relief, ice, bracing, rest, and hopefully not surgery. So after the second visit for a foot and a hand, I do what I always do when I don't know what to do. I say a prayer. And the answer to my prayer was an hour and 40-minute interview of Sean Baker. And he talked about his carnivore history and how one of the first improvements he had when he went carnivore was his tendon injuries healed. So I went downstairs to my husband's office, which is in our house. And I said, Tony, you ready for the next adventure? And when I told him what we were going to do, he said, I love bacon, butter, beef, and eggs. I'm in. So he decided to eat the refrigerator clean to not be wasteful. And I decided to go cold turkey. I don't advise going cold turkey. Although what I experienced, I knew about electrolyte replacement. First 3 days, a headache like a cast iron frying pan, it had hit me multiple times. And then after those 3 days, my nose started running and running copiously that I couldn't even bend over without my nose running. And I won't even go into the graphics of what was coming out of me. But even with the headache, I decided that if that was able to escape from me and had been in me, then I needed to keep going. So I replaced my electrolytes. I ate fats. I ate meat, and I took a lot of naps initially. And right around the 3-week mark, one day I blew that dripping nose and it stopped running. And during that whole course, with the headaches, with the copious amounts of discharge, I knew that even though I was tired, like during the day and fatigued because I was detoxing, I also could tell that I was calmer, and that already limb pain that I had lived with for years and years was less. And although I was fatiguing quickly, I also found I wanted to exercise a little more, be a little more active, even if I needed to take naps. So I followed the course of my body that way. The other thing is I have a history of tick-borne illnesses, Lyme disease, Ehrlichia, anaplasmosis, and Babesia. And they've been much harder to shake because of my immune deficiency. The immune deficiency has also given me multiple severe pneumonias with some permanent lung damage. So living with pain was kind of my normal. I don't live with pain. And I'm going to say it again. In fact, I'll say it 3 or 4 times. I don't live with pain. I do have the EDS, so once in a while, I'm a regular visit to my chiropractor that keeps everything aligned. Once in a while, I get a clicky wrist or a clicky finger. I can pop those back in. My back, my chiropractor takes care of. But my amount of physical activity, and did I tell you guys I'm 66? So I swim twice a week year round. In the summer, we have a town beach on Lake Wentworth that's 1.5 miles from the house on a rail trail. So I swim very frequently and paddleboard in the summer. In the winter, I downhill and cross-country ski snowshoe, and then ride my bike when I get a chance to get it out of the garage and I'm not watching grandkids. Or also, a little over a year ago, I began singing with our local community choir. And last spring at 65, I had my first soprano solo in my life. So the cognitive stuff coming back, the ability to join a group, to participate, to read music. I started, when I first started back singing, I was unconfident. So I started voice lessons, and that's made a big, big difference. And I still do voice lessons weekly. I also work with a private Pilates trainer and do weight and resistance training just to make sure I've got, these lax tendons and ligaments, and the stronger I can keep my muscles, the less problems I'm going to have with those lax tendon and ligaments. So now I exercise a lot. I don't sew as much as I'd like to, and I don't crochet as much as I like to, and like I used to before. But I am a very active person. I have a very active day. I still am good for a nap a couple days a week. I have this wonderful leather chair in the corner of my living room that happens to be blue. And all my friends know when I say I need blue chair time. So the other thing that's really, really, really significant, and George, you may relate to this with your military history. I have a extensive history of childhood abuse. And one of the things I did, so I'd done a lot of counseling when my children were growing up because I didn't want to pass on the mental, emotional stuff. Even though I knew I wouldn't pass on the abuse, I had to change my thoughts and my behaviors too. And I also learned a lot of coping mechanisms to deal with flashbacks. What I didn't know about carnivore is that it pretty much erases the flashbacks, or it makes me much, much more aware of, oh, that's just old stuff. instead of reacting reactively. So well, you guys can find a better word for me if you want. But I don't feel like I'm living with PTSD. I will notice sounds, smells that I don't like, but I don't get emotionally upset. I can say, that reminds me, I can think in my head, oh, that reminds me of X, Y, and Z. I don't like that. I'm gonna move away from that. Or if I have to tolerate it, it's just one of those, I can tell myself it's going to be short term. And it's not a permanent situation, and it's not connected to the past, where previously my whole limbic system was really highly lit up with my past life triggering and flashing in my everyday. And it was really exhausting and a lot to work with. So carnivore has really, really changed that. And part of the reason I want to speak is because two things. One is the physical stuff. I want people to know if they have a complex medical history and still have to take medications, if they can really still benefit enormously from carnivore. And then the other thing is the mental health thing, that I had no clue that carnivore would have such an impact on my mental health. And now I can recognize when I'm starting to get a little weepy, a little anxious, a little something, and I have strategies. And just for example, coming to speak on the show with you guys, I was getting a little worked up, about 12:15 today. And so I messaged George, and we talked for 5 or 10 minutes, and I worked it through. I didn't get stuck where I used to get stuck. So those are the shares for now. That's the long, short story.
That's you have a long list of physical as well as some emotional and mental. It's just amazing. Everything you just read, when somebody listens to this video again on replay, or if they're watching it live, they're going to see something in themselves and think, wow, I'm going to try carnivore. If it helped her, maybe it can help me with A, B, or C. And so many people who share stories, all the different possible physical ailments, mental, it tends to help. Now, like you mentioned about the medicine, carnivore is probably the biggest part of it, the healing. Some people, it's up to the doctor and you decide if you still want to be on certain medicines. Where do medicines come from? They come from plants, when dosed appropriately and timed, medicines can be helpful, but nourishing your body the way you learn to do, my gosh, you're a walking proof. It's just amazing. And the fact that you mentioned the emotional abuse, and I'm so sorry you had to go through that, the child abuse. I know that ketones play a huge role in our mental health when we are fueling our bodies with fatty acids and then ketones. Everybody I talk to, and I'm the one included, with depression and some lows that I used to experience, totally healed. It stopped my OCD that I used to have. I used to have obsessive compulsive disorder with not just biting my nails, but with thoughts and I couldn't stop thinking about something and I would blow it out of proportion. It sounded like something similar that you might go through. And that it all evaporates when I nourish my body with the proper stuff and get the crap out, the starch, the sugar, the seed oil, all the plant toxins, and God knows what else they put in ultra processed food. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing. Can you tell me how your husband changed? I don't know if you can speak on his behalf, but you said that he also is carnivore in your house. Has he done it as long as you have and seen some improvements as well?
He, like I said, he ate up the produce. So he probably had 3 or 4 weeks of doing keto.
Okay.
And then all the other things that weren't produce that still fell within the good food, I gave to college students and a friend with 8 children.
Oh, okay. That'll eat up the food.
Anyway, Tony lost 30 pounds.
Okay.
He'll be 69 in November. So he's trim. He's down to the size he was when we started dating, and he's got a lot of fitness. He did have, just like we've heard with other stories, he had a health issue while on carnivore that kind of blew us away. He developed a rare form of vasculitis that attacked his kidneys, his balance, his vision, and his hearing. And the vision, the hearing came back right away. Some of the brain fog he's still working through he's about the 1 year mark. The kidney function is fine, and he's now doing Pilates and weight training with me, as well as playing hockey 3 days a week to work on the balance.
Okay.
So
That's
he's
good.
so, that thing where people can still have health problems on carnivore. He's an example of that. And he's also an example of how much the body can recover with carnivore. So when we went down to Boston to be seen in an emergency admittance to the hospital, the first doctor that we saw asked about our lifestyle, and he said, "I'm carnivore." And that doctor said, "This will not be chronic for you. You will be cured." So I'm holding on to that.
Wow. That's great. Our question, you may have already answered this. If time permits, can you talk about the husband's healing? If that's something that he wants out there, of course, we understand. And you shared that. The vasculitis, I don't know what that is. Can you just explain what is that?
They call it an autoimmune disease.
Okay.
They don't know what causes it. There's been a big uptick since COVID and the COVID vaccine. Tony did have COVID. We chose not to vaccinate with we chose not to be part of that part of the experiment. But he had, a mild to moderate run-in with COVID. So was it that they've also found that some people who are on certain medications are prone to vasculitis? He didn't have that. He's never been a medication person. In the 44 years we've been married, he had the flu once when we had 2 little children for a couple of weeks, and that's pretty much it, except an occasional cold. So this really took us for a surprise. So they say it's an autoimmune disease where inflammation goes after the microvessels, the tiny microcapillaries, and causes them to be disturbed or clotted up or something. And so that was where it affected the kidneys, some temporary vision loss, some temporary hearing loss, some of his core muscle control, and the general brain fog.
Okay. I've heard stories from many people who got COVID and were fine, but also got COVID, and there was something residual, something left over, something that happened because of COVID. Maybe COVID woke up something that was a weakness.
Yeah, we don't
brought
know.
it to fruition. Nobody really knows the answer to a lot of those questions, and vaccines and all that stuff aside, COVID, man, what a nasty thing that was, and still is out there. So I know that you agree with me that eating this way is our best defense for ill health, to stay as healthy as we possibly can. Would you say, since you've started eating this way, you've had fewer sore throats or colds?
Oh, very, very much so. And as I said, I have lung damage from the immune deficiency.
Yeah, you said pneumonia. You must have scarring then, right?
I've been having pneumonia since I was a young child.
Oh, gosh.
And then in 2010, I had necrotic granulomas in my lungs. So they removed roughly 1/3 of my left lung.
Wow.
And so without the immunoglobulin, I can get pneumonia very easily.
Okay.
Most people with common variable immune deficiency get infections, either most typically sinus infections, bone infections, or lung infections very frequently. And it's often, even with treatment, what leads to one's demise. I did have bone infections. My facial bones from here to here. I had necrotic tissue in my bones, and the bones had to be surgically cleaned out.
I'm looking at you right now, and you're a miracle to have gone through all of that. I see people in the comments saying they're on the edge of their seat listening to you. It's just, I talk my story, and I'm like, I had a little lower back pain. I had to lose a little bit of weight. Carnivore helped me. And you've gone through literally the mill. You've gone through hell and back, and you look and sound amazing. So you should be trumpeting this as well. I'm sure you are.
Show you this.
Okay, look at the before picture.
Well, that wasn't before Carnivore. That was when the infection was really bad.
Oh, so inflammation.
Yeah.
Wow. George, do you have? You've been quiet there. Anything you would like to share? Ask.
I made George quiet. Whoa.
No, I've just been quietly sitting in the background, taking everything in. And as you say, Erin, we had a lovely chat just before with the performance when you reached across the pond, and we were able to sort. But you picked up on the fact that I'm ex-military, which is interesting. I'm wearing my Desert Rat badge tonight. So yeah, we'll talk about that. I didn't exactly suffer direct child abuse when I was growing up, at least not from adults. But what my parents did do, which was they subbed out the child abuse because they sent me to a boys' boarding school shortly after my 11th birthday, which is child abuse. I will stand by that. There's no question about that whatsoever. Because the feeling of rejection's incredible. I hated pretty much every second of boys' boarding school. I had a few health problems even back in those days because I was a fat late developer, which is two of the biggest crimes you can commit in a boys' boarding school. So I was constantly bullied. Hence the sort of for 5 years, I had a miserable time. And basically, boys' boarding school prepares you very well for one of two institutions, one of which is prison, the other is the army. I opted for the army, and I spent 8 years in the army. So yeah, it was that was my sort of, as you say, the history of my childhood. The abuse came from being away at school, and that is a form of child abuse. But then when you joined the army, of course, I ended up in Desert Storm in the first Gulf War. So that had its own mental health problems of its own accord. And yeah, I lost a year of my life to stress. I was never diagnosed with depression, just with work stress, but in fact, it was 11 months that I was deemed unfit for work. And I spent those 11 months fat and ill between October 2011 and the end of August of 2012, lying on the end of my bed, unable to work. I was being paid by my former company. And then when they decided after 6 months that they would get rid of me, so they gave me a payoff of a few £1,000s. But I had to drag myself back into work, and I could only drag myself back at the minimum wage level. I was existing. I was no longer alive. In my mind, I was just existing, and I was alcoholic. And then gradually I sort of pulled myself back, and then along came Carnivore. Once I got diagnosed with type 2 diabetes and morbid obesity, a nurse very kindly took me to one side, told me what was wrong, I was eating wrong, and I went away. I threw away the prescriptions, and I went low carb, and then eventually carnivore, and my life has changed. I am now unrecognisable to myself. My poor wife Lainey has now finding herself having to deal with a totally new human being who she's trying to get used to. I am no longer the man who is sleeping 11, 12 hours a night, who would have a drink with her when we got home from work, maybe watch an hour of TV, fall asleep, and that would be me. And now I'm a 5 hour a night sleeper if I'm lucky. I'm full of energy, totally active. As many of you will know, yourself included, Erin, I am now on Eastern Standard Time. So my day is completely, my day has just started here in the UK, and it's actually 6:30 at night. So I will probably be carrying on with my friends in America in one form or another until, let me think, 3 o'clock in the morning my time, 10 o'clock your time. And then tomorrow it will be pretty much the same thing. But then of course the world doesn't stop for me here in the UK. So if somebody needs me on UK time at say 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, it means I'm in bed by 3 and up at 7. So without Carnivore, I would not have that energy. I would not have that vitality, which I doing the life that I've chosen, which is basically to try and pursue my career, as you know, as a coach, and possibly as a media career as well. And I need to have masses of energy in order to do that, and it's all down to Carnivore. So yeah, I am a different person. My wife has just popped up in chat saying that I have become a vampire. So yeah, my circadian rhythms are completely out of whack. I have to sneak up very quietly at 3 o'clock in the morning to make sure I don't wake Lenny, because boy, if I do I know about it. So yeah, so that is the story behind the way that, as you said, Erin, that I'm a different man. I'm a different human being to the fat, sick, and depressed person of the time in between 2000, well, probably before that, 2000. We'll go back to about 2008. And then about 2022, when I finally got my diagnosis. So I probably lost about 14 years of my life to malnutrition. Carnivore came along, and my life has started again. So that's a little bit of that's just picking up on what you said there. As usual, I've made a long speech out of it when I could have kept it down to 2 sentences, but. But there we go.
You're a true teacher, George. We all do that. That's what I did in the asked all my students, and they're like, "Oh boy, all we did was ask him a question." 3 hours later. So, Erin, can you tell us what's your food? Tell us what you have. How many meals a day do you eat now? And what do you have?
Okay, I eat 2 to 3 meals a day most days. Tony and I start the day with what we fondly have named eggachinos. So it's a fresh egg from our chickens in the bottom of a mug with about a tablespoon of room temperature butter, and then gets half filled with coffee and whisked, and then topped off with coffee. So the egg is whisked into the coffee and becomes cooked and liquefied. And then you get a lovely froth from that and the butter. So we have 2 of those every morning. And so those technically count as a meal, because it's 2 eggs and some butter and 2 cups of coffee. Then late morning, usually between 11 and 1, we'll have another meal. And it's frequently a meal with eggs. Sometimes it's a half a pound of bacon diced up with 6 eggs cooked in it like a frittata. That's a quick and easy favorite. I do it in the cast iron frying pan. And today we didn't have bacon defrosted, so it was a pound of ground beef with eggs poached on top, and salt, and I use white pepper because it's much less oxalates, but you still get the flavor. I do some seasoning, mostly salt, some pepper, and then some other herbs and spices. I don't make a big sweat when I'm at a restaurant and, ask them to be pure. All the breakfast diners here in town will cook my eggs in butter for me. We live in a resort town, so there's a lot of little restaurants here that are in walking distance from the house. So we use it as a way to both patronize the businesses, but also socialize with friends and keep the kitchen clean, because as you may know, carnivore cooking can be kind of dirty with all that wonderful fat. Dinner is very frequently a steak, oftentimes beef. We just bought a half a cow from a farm 10 minutes away. We also raise our own lambs here on our property. And we're out of our current lamb. Our current batch of lambs will go to freezer camp on November 1st. This year we raised 4, so last year was 2. So we'll have twice as much lamb this year. So it should last the whole 12 months. We'll do seafood occasionally. Being in northern New England, I wish I could say I ate a lot of lobster because I love it, but it's no longer the poor man's food. All the other thing, when my children were growing up, wild caught salmon was extremely inexpensive, and now most of it gets shipped overseas. So I'm much less likely to eat the seafood. I do like the shellfish. I like oysters and clams, mussels, oysters and clams raw or cooked, and mussels always cooked. We eat occasional pork. If I eat chicken, it's either wings or bone-in, skin-on thighs. I've found that red meat really works with my body much better. So it's mostly beef and lamb. We're on our way out tomorrow for our 44th anniversary to go on a schooner cruise. And the chef on the sailing vessel is going to accommodate our diet. So I'm really excited. So there'll be cheeses, there'll be pâtés. I'm sure there's going to be lobsters and steamers, steaks, whatnot. But they specifically reached out so they could accommodate our eating.
That sounds happy anniversary, by the way, 44 years. That's fantastic.
And then I make chaffles. I make a huge batch of chaffles.
Good.
On a regular basis. I do meat jerky. I make El Ruderai yogurt following Dr. William Davis's guidelines. And we usually have a heaping tablespoon of yogurt with every meal as kind of a way to, it's like the finishing touch.
Right.
And then we do pork rinds, meat sticks when we're on long car trips.
Hold us that bag of pork rinds up again to everybody with the powdered butter. I've never heard of this.
So this is my junk food carnivore crack. When I do my immunoglobulin infusion, I get crazy hungry. And so immunoglobulin is live human plasma. It's pooled and disinfected, and then it goes into my body to give me what I don't make. Mm-hmm. And the process of infusing that, something happens where I need a lot of electrolytes and I get crazy hungry. So every infusion day, I eat one of these pretty much without fail. And that's the only time I eat it. And so I'm not worried about it.
You're listening to your body. It's craving electrolytes that has a lot of salt, I'm sure, in that. So there you go.
Crunch.
Yeah,
and great. As soon as I open the bag, the dog comes over for his share.
That's wonderful. Wow. That is amazing. I was going to ask you something while you were talking there, and I lost it because of the bag. George, anything else? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, you keep on catching me by surprise, John. So I've got to drag my cursor across the screen.
I'll do a little countdown. I'm about to call on you.
No, that's all right. That's no problem at all. Yeah, so just talk about the seasoning side of things. It just reminded me, this is just a story really, to be honest with you.
All right.
My butcher is Ashley, who does the meat up, the catering now on. And last year, because he's been making burgers all of his life as a butcher, and he's always added lots of seasoning in. Because why? Because that's the way he's always done it. He's always been taught that is required of a burger. Now, we were very lucky to have Coach Stephen Thomas from the UK, BSc Honours, who's quite famous around the world, actually. And he said, if he's going to be producing burgers, I don't want any seasoning, don't want any pepper in it. And I thought, yeah, that's a good idea. So I spoke to Ashley about creating the Carnivore burger, which is basically just quality meat and salt. And he thought, we can't do that. That's, we need seasoning, you need pepper. So as I told him, I said, no, because pepper has oxalates. And he said, what are oxalates? I said, calcium oxalate create 80% of all kidney stones. Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. So anyway, so he experimented last year with the 7-ounce carnivore burger, which was ground beef and salt. Went down very well. Just one comment was that the mixture wasn't fat enough, so it was a little bit too lean. But we had the discussion afterwards. What he's doing now is he's actually getting the fat from the slaughterhouse where it's cut off, and he's adding it to the mix. And he's actually producing the carnivore burger for people other than us. It's become sort of a standard alternative burger. And do you know what's happening? His normal customers are preferring the pure carnivore burger with quality ground beef and fat and salt over the traditional ones with the seasonings in. So that's kind of a small little victory for us out in the big wider world. So it's it's just gradually. Ashley has had to change his mindset. He's had to change his mindset from the way he always did things to a new idea, and that new idea, which is the carnivore burger, carnivore, has proved to be a very good thing indeed. We all have to go through the same thing. We are all taught that vegetables are necessary. We are all taught that red meat will give us colon cancer. We're all taught we need fibre. We have to change our mindset. I changed my mindset, and I changed my entire life. So, yeah, it just shows the benefit really of thinking outside the box. And a nice little story about my great friend and a fantastic carnivore supporter, Ashley. So, there we go. That's my whole contribution.
You can't go wrong with just ground beef and a little salt. Absolutely, exactly. That's all you need. Let's see. Question: where did you get those pork rinds? Coach Juliet Edens wants to know.
I found them on Amazon.
Oh, you didn't buy them in a store. You got them on Amazon.
No, I found them on Amazon, and Pork King also makes plain and herbed panko.
Okay. Which is the ground up. Yeah.
The ground up. And when I first started making truffles, I started with eggs and cheese, and I found them too dry. And they didn't travel well. One of the reasons I make truffles is because we use them to make sandwiches on downhill ski days in the winter. So they have to be right.
So you put the panko in it?
I make mine with eggs, cottage cheese, and panko.
Oh, cottage. Okay, yeah, that kind of cheese. You don't use other. You don't use.
I had tried the grated, like the Parmesan and the cheddar and things like that.
Makes it greasier.
And they were dry.
Oh, okay. So yeah.
The combination of the cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese has more moisture. Yeah.
The panko and the eggs. And I usually do a dozen or 18 eggs at once and, cook for an hour.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
And then I have them for a grab and go.
For anybody who's listening, I know I didn't at the time. I didn't know what a chaffle was. I made a video about it, and I have so many people make them now, and you get this little waffle iron, and the ingredients, like you said, it's always egg, and I do it with mozzarella cheese, and that's all I need. A little bit of salt. You can put anything you want in it, but that's the base. And it comes out. It looks and has the texture and feel of a waffle, and you can use it to hold something, as a vehicle to eat something. You can do anything with it, or have it cold, have it warm. They're really versatile. Yeah,
I started like you, and I looked at that little waffle maker,
the little guy.
I said, when hell freezes, because I'm not going to be making those over and over again for the volume I want. So my waffle maker has 4 of those little circles.
All built in. Okay. It's good for you.
I'm cooking 4 at once.
I have 3 little ones, believe it or not, and I plug them all in and I dump 2 of them with the lids down on all of them. So I'm kind of doing the same thing. I remembered what my question was. You have a farm, apparently. You live on a farm and you raise lamb and you have hens for eggs. Can you tell us a little bit more about the food that you get from your farm? Because I'm jealous.
Well, we're kind of urban farmers out of necessity.
Okay.
So 5 years ago, we moved to Wolfboro, New Hampshire from the town. We'd raised our children in Stratford, New Hampshire, on a town-maintained dirt road on the side of a mountain. Very rural. And once the kids were gone and doing all their adult things, and with my health problems were very, very severe for a while, I didn't like being isolated. It was a 45-minute drive to do anything, and any of the daily task kind of things, groceries, hardware store, box stores, etc. So we moved to downtown Wolfboro. Now, year-round population here is 7,000. Summer population is different because we have 3 lakes in town. And we bought an old brick straight front colonial with a wooden L on the back that was, one could say, bit of a distressed property. And the yard was all overgrown. And one of the things it was overgrown with is a plant called Japanese knotweed. Japanese knotweed looks like a bamboo type stalk with a heart-shaped leaf and then a very lacy flower that attracts all the pollinators in the fall. It's extremely invasive. It grows by tubers under the ground, and it gives off some kind of chemical where other plants can't grow among it. So when you have a patch of Japanese knotweed, there's nothing else growing in it. So when we bought the property, we were pretty overwhelmed. We didn't know what to do about the knotweed. The first year we did what was considered safe spraying, but it really didn't do well enough. And we didn't even want to do safe spraying. So we decided to raise lambs. We only have an acre of land, but we have a field next to us that's technically wetland, so it'll never be built on. And the owners have allowed us to extend our pasture fencing onto their field also. So our lambs eat the knotweed on our hillside, and then they eat the field next door, which is all part of the same pastured area. We get them in May, and 7 months later, they go to freezer camp. The chickens we just got for the convenience and the fun of having chickens. And when you start with 1-day-old chickens in a box in your basement and you hand raise them, they're very tame. And we have young grandchildren that like to carry chickens around. So we get eggs and we get grandchild entertainment. So. And this year we ended up with very, very tame lambs that came from an emergency C-section. So they were bottle fed and they came wearing sweaters.
Wow.
And so that was very popular with the grandchild population also. But they're still going to freezer camp in November.
Definitely. Oh, that is anybody who doesn't have a farm or doesn't have any animals, we are jealous of you. Where I live, I can't do it. I live in almost a city, kind of rural area. I can't raise any. I can't even have any hens. But I think that would be wonderful to have a wonderful pasture raised egg from a hen. How many do you get? Like how many chickens do you have? And
we have 4. We're down to 7 chickens. We started with 12. Mm-hmm. Part of the normal circle of life is you lose some. Mm-hmm. And our Rhode Island Reds are 3 years old. Our Orsos are 2 years old. So the Reds are getting older. We have a total of 7 chickens. On a good day, these days we'll get 6 eggs. On a bad day, we get 2 eggs. And then in the winter, you get a few eggs a week.
Okay. Yeah. So it's different with the temperatures.
The temperatures and the light.
And your chickens go out and eat the bugs and worms. And do you have to give them any supplemental feed?
We do. They do get commercial chicken feed. That's like anti-parasitic kind of treated, medicated feed. And then they eat a lot of bugs. They eat a lot of leaves. Chickens will actually eat little bits of gravel too. They need it for their digestion. And then a budding neighbor on the south side of us is a friend who owns a pizza sub kind of restaurant. And he feeds the chickens scrap expired kitchen food.
Oh, okay.
Chickens will eat just about anything. Actually, the lambs will eat just about anything too.
Or like the ducks, they will eat any duck food, like my friend Rick talks about. Good.
Okay,
Anybody
so
have any
if I can jump in
questions?
here, John,
Please
I've
do.
got I am a chicken child. I'm a child of the
Okay.
chicken.
Chicken man.
Because I was brought up on what we call a small holding here in the UK, which I believe has taken on the name of homestead over in the States. Which is basically, my father was a hobby farmer. We had quite a significant patch of land, about 4 acres, and we had chickens. And I do remember that when I was about 3 years old, I had my childhood pushchair, if you like, the small version of the perambulator. And by the time I could walk, I sort of use it as a walking aid. But I used to open it out and get my favourite chicken, who was called Henny Penny. I used to strap her into the child walker, and we used to go for walks around the garden. She used to actually sit there clucking very contentedly to herself. She was she was a bit of a character. And to pick up on the grit for the digestion, I believe that the organ that they require a grit for is the gizzard, because the gizzard is where they actually grind their food, rather than they don't digest it in the same way as we do. I believe it gets stored in the crop and then goes to the gizzard to be ground up. So yeah, they do require little bits of grit, because that's actually physically what they have in their gizzard to help them grind up their food. You just brought back some great memories there, when I was growing up, because we had a flock of chickens, we had a flock of geese, which we kept on losing to the fox. We decided we needed a goat because we had the stinging nettle in our paddock. She would eat anything apart from stinging nettle, so that was kind of a bit of a but we loved her anyway. We used to rent the grazing in the apple orchard out to the local farmer with his lambs. So yeah, I had cats as my best friends as I was growing up. So yeah, I had a fairly idyllic childhood until the age of 11, when I got sent off to boarding school. I don't think I miss my parents so much. It's my cats and my animals. So but that was it was you just triggered a memory of me growing up on a farm. It was great fun. So that's my chicken story.
I don't have a chicken story, unfortunately. I grew up in the suburbs of Philadelphia. I do remember in the mid to late 60s, when I was a little boy, we would drive up to the dairy farm with the glass used bottles and exchange them, and we would get milk from the cow. I mean, I remember that, and I remember the metal box in front of our house, and the milkman came. And I remember the caps. They were like a hard paper cardboard cap that came off. And I remember that. I guess I'm that old now that we had a milkman. And now what are we all talking about in the carnivore community? We're talking about raw milk, raw dairy, and how we wish we could have it, and how everything's pasteurized. And
I can get raw milk in New Hampshire.
Can you? Oh.
Yeah, I can get raw cow's milk and raw goat's milk.
We actually had raw kefir in one of my stores, and then they stopped selling it. It said for pets only, and I grabbed it, I bought it, I smelled it, I tried it, I had it for a month or two, and then they stopped selling it because somebody probably, I don't know, some health department probably said no. I don't know about the state of Florida and what was permitted or not, but they were probably afraid of getting sued, which is ridiculous. It's a shame how they don't have a problem with all the other crap that's in the aisles of that same grocery store. All the seed oils. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask. That bag of pork rinds that you have, do you read the ingredients? Is it fried out in its own fat to make sure it's not it's because some pork rind companies, they will actually drop them in peanut oil. You have to make sure you read the ingredients.
It's pork rinds cooked in pork fat.
In pork fat.
Butter buds, which is milk solids, non-fat milk, salt. The natural flavor could be my big non-carnivore piece. But you know what? There was something else I thought. So when John, you're not in the coaching class with George and I.
No, I'm not. Mm-mm.
Okay. So George and I are in the coaching class, and Dr. Kiltz's coaching class, for anybody that hasn't been listening to George. And one of the things that we talk about as part of our learning is how people with different health profiles may have to adapt their carnivore or their keto experience. And I want to share what I do that's different than probably the rest of you.
Okay.
So I don't make cortisol. I also don't make aldosterone. So I replace the cortisol, like I said, with the insulin pump with usually injectable hydrocortisone, but I use it sub-Q. And then I take a medication that's bioidentical called fludrocortisone. Now, early on, I've been following a lot of influencers, a lot of carnivore doctors. And as you know, limiting meals, fasting, fat fasting, sardine fasting, egg fasting, all of those come up. So I'm one of those goofy experimenters. I'm going to be the end study of one. And I'm going to try it on me and see what happens. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was out car shopping with my granddaughter. And as you may know, when you're at a car dealership, there's a lot of waiting around. And I missed lunch. So I just decided I was going to use it as a fasting opportunity. Well, I wear a CGM because low cortisol for me means low blood sugar. And as they're going through putting together car paperwork, I was getting real brain foggy, real spacey, real nauseous. And my blood glucose meter started to alarm. Eventually, it got down to 42. So as soon as I got out of there, I was inhaling meat sticks to bring my brain back so I could drive again. A couple weeks ago, Dr. Kiltz interviewed Sally K. Norton, and she answered the question that I've been asking when she said, when you fast, your body releases cortisol to trigger your liver to go into glyconeogenesis. Well, I don't have cortisol to release. My pump gives me a normal daily healthy basal dose for average functioning. When I do downhill skiing, when I perform with my chorus, I have to up my cortisol. If I go to a funeral of a good friend, I have to up my cortisol. Good stress and bad stress. I don't make cortisol. Cortisol is your stress maintenance hormone. I also don't make epinephrine. I just make norepinephrine. So I can't fast. And that is important for people to hear, that I can be successful and heal on a carnivore diet. I can go into ketosis. I can have autophagy, but I can't do a multi-day fast because my blood sugar will drop and I'll go into adrenal crisis, which is life-threatening. So that's an important share.
Very important. Your adrenal glands do not work like ours. And so
they don't work at all.
They don't work at all. So you, just like a type 1 diabetic, pancreas does not secrete insulin at all. Mm-hmm. You have to, like an insulin pump, you have to have the same pump that gives you cortisol. Yep. Which that's very important to hear. A lot of people don't hear that this is individual. Fasting is not for everyone. Obviously, it's based on everybody's physiology. We're coming to the top of the hour here. You have been a fantastic guest. Yeah. Fascinating, Erin. We want to thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we end the podcast? I just want to encourage people that may get this video with this interview referred to them, that really feel hopeless, to take from me that it is not hopeless at all. I mean, I have so much more joy in my life with the reduced PTSD, the elimination of pain, the much more activity in my life. I still have a lot of plates to spin every single day. I still have to replace bioidentical things that my body is not going to make in this life. And I can do it, and I can live with joy and happiness. So I really want other people to hear that. And anybody that, shares this with a friend or family member that is going through rough stuff and is feeling hopeless, I want to really encourage them to think about healthy changes. And I mean, carnivore is so easy. Shopping is easy. Cooking is easy.
The hardest thing is explaining it to your family and friends.
Yeah,
And
that is the hard part.
And then the other thing, eating in advance when you get invited to a potluck or something.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. A few tricks that we've learned along the way. We
mhm.
appreciate your story so much and you coming on. Where can our viewers find you? Do you have a YouTube channel? Are you putting any content out at all that we can find you?
Not yet. I'm doing the coaching course
Okay.
basically because God told me to.
Okay.
And because I went to the Boston meetup and found out about the coaching course and couldn't go to bed that night until I signed up.
Good.
The next step is a little bit of travel over the next month and learning about how to have content, how to
Okay.
reignite web pages and things like that I through my illness had let slide. So
All right. Have you done other interviews? If we were to type your name in, maybe we can find other interviews.
yeah, no, I've been on Bob's Carnivore Talks
Okay.
as a participant a couple times, but you guys are my first interview. That's
right.
right, George.
We're honored.
I will have a website coming up when I get it. I have a Dominion. What's it called?
Domain.
Domain.
Yeah.
And that's always growing. ALLWAYS growing, all connected, all lowercase. So that should become active in the next month or two. But
Good.
yeah.
Great. George, give
Yeah.
us a quick where we can find you real quick, and then we'll
I
we'll
think
wrap it
most
up.
people know that I am George Goodenough 823 on YouTube. I'm George Goodenough on Facebook. Please come and find me. I know a lot of people are. Thanks to everybody in the chat tonight. A lot of KMT people we can always rely on. It's great. It's a shame that Steph's not here. She will be back next week. But she's a school secretary whose job it is to ring the bell. So I know I have to remind the headmaster that he has to ring the bell and he has to press the button. So back to you, John, to ring the bell and
I
press the
will
button.
do that. And thank you again, Erin. Thank you, George. I am the Carnivore Teacher Alpha on YouTube and all the social media platforms. Explained that in the beginning. And we'll see you back here again next Sunday with another wonderful guest to share their wonderful success on Carnivore. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Stay on with
Bye.
us, Erin, for a minute.
Mm-hmm.